All right, good afternoon. Just a few of us left. It's the end. We're all looking for our trips home, I suppose, and resting and not using our brain anymore. I have to admit I'm exhausted after all of this, so we'll go through this. There's no code. I'm not showing you any code today. This is not a burn your brain kind of presentation. This is really about how do we use Xojo to solve problems within our business. If you have questions, please feel free to ask during the presentation. I'm doubtful that it will go the whole length, so we'll be able to get out, get back to our hotel rooms, sleep for a bit. But I'll get started. So my name is Robert Litchfield. I am the Director of Technology at the TELUS World of Science in Edmonton. It's a science museum. I'm not sure if everybody knows what a science center is, but it's a science museum where we educate children and adults alike and try to reinvigorate their love of science, or if they're young and new to it, kind of introduce them to what science is. I've been very fortunate. I've been in the IT industry for 20 plus years, 20-some, 5, 6, 7 years. I've led some very large development teams for some multi-billion dollar international companies, and I was introduced to Xojo. I was looking for some kind of solution that I needed to do something for my father-in-law. So I took a look at Xojo, took a look at .NET. I reached out to Xojo and said, hey, you know, .NET can do this, can you do that? And they answered no. I said, well, okay, thanks, but I'm not going to use your tool then. I'm going to go to .NET. Literally 4 weeks later, I purchased the license. .NET just was not where it was going to be at. Yeah, I've been quite lucky. I've been able to live in many countries of this world, work in those same countries, Central America, India, Germany, and Canada, which is where I'm from. TWOSE, as we call it, and you may hear me refer to it as TWOSE, which stands for TELUS World of Science Edmonton, is, as I said, a science center. We are a nonprofit, so every penny counts for us. It's important that we're able to spend our money wisely. Our donors want to make sure that we do, and our books are very open, so they're able to see if we're spending our money wisely. We opened on July 1st, which is Canada Day in 1984, with just this little white piece of the building, and we've expanded a couple times beyond that. We're in the midst of a $40 million expansion, and renewing a bunch of our exhibits, and being able to offer more to our visitors and the students and adults who visit us. We have 100 to 130 employees, depending on the season, of which the mass majority of that is part-time. We have about 60 full-time employees and 150 volunteers, which are super important to us. And anybody who volunteers, thank you very much to you, and I'm sure the organizations you volunteer with is very appreciative. So I took a look at, we needed to build a few little solutions within Xojo. Now, the coding side of it, I'm the one that does the coding. It is a tiny, tiny percentage of my job. I need to keep the technology running. We're developing exhibits and all that kind of stuff. So that's the majority of my real job. But I needed to look and build something. RAD was super important. The idea that I could spend time building something just was not acceptable. It had to get done quickly. Multi-platform was a real possibility, and as I go through some of our solutions, you'll see that that is definitely the case. We needed to integrate with existing data feeds, so we have our ticketing system, a financial system, of course, as many organizations do. And I needed to be able to pull data from that in order to display or use as a kind of different interface for, depending on who it was for. Yeah, familiarity, which is what I said, was more important than popularity. Because we weren't going to necessarily be hiring a bunch of developers, I didn't need to worry about the developer community, whether it was .NET. So yeah, in the last 3 years, I've completed 6 projects, 1 underway, and a backlog of 3 as it stands. So So we use Xojo all over the place. It's kind of hard to see here. This is the fire command. It was an immediate response that we needed to build quickly due to a devastating fire in Fort McMurray, which is a city a bit north of Edmonton. Similar to what's happened in California last year, where a number of towns basically burnt down. Fort McMurray was that way. All the families came rushing down to Edmonton because their town and their city, their small city, was basically burning down. So they all came rushing down to Edmonton, and Edmonton as a whole said, okay, let's do something. And the Science Center, you know, we're very community-based, said, well, we're going to offer free entrance to everybody from Fort McMurray because these kids who should be in school and they don't have their home anymore, let's give them something to do. They can entertain themselves. The parents can, you know, go cry in the corner at their loss while their kids are having fun. It was kind of what we were looking at. But we wanted to educate them a little bit while they were there about why forest fires happen. This is only a very small part of the display. There's a bit more where we talk about how the acorns with heat will expand due to forest fires, and thus the seeds are released, and the science behind why a forest fire could be good despite how devastating it was. One of the things they want to do is we wanted to show how forest fires are not effective, but how prevalent they are in Canada, which is what the map is on, at any given moment. And at the time, this whole section, which is where Edmonton was all bright red because there were forest fires like crazy everywhere. What this application does, it's a Windows application, screen scrapes information off of the Government of Canada website and displays it there, so that they're able to see daily contacts, the current day and the next day estimates of what the forest fire would be. It was very meaningful for the families, and we were quite happy, but it had to be done really quickly. The whole team had to come together, and one of the things was, Robert, how quickly can we get some of this kind of information up rather than have to draw it out on a screen to be able to update it regularly. Another thing we use Xojo for is our what we call visit planner, or part of our wayfinding. So we always have things going on in the Science Center, whether it's IMAX movies or dome observatory type things. Experiments is going on. Typically when someone from the Science Center does a presentation like this, we do an experiment first, make sure everybody's awake, things are exploding, fire happens. Issue is the border, the US border doesn't allow us to bring all these fun things down here, so unfortunately I don't get to do that. The need was to be able to pull information out of our ticketing system, allow people to be able to enter information in, because things could happen at spur of the moment. Somebody gets sick, so something has to come off, or something ends, or some product isn't available, so something needs to change. The other thing was we had very different formats. So this Curious City is all for kids that are big like this. They're tiny little kids, 7 or so and under, and you know, we wanted a fun, more entertaining looking display versus something that's a little more boring, where marketing is doing their marketing stuff, but we were able to display, say, when an IMAX movie occurs, or something like this, which really gets into more of the detail of what is going on throughout our building at any given time, so that our visitors are able to plan their way through it. All this information is being pulled from our ticketing system. It is using in the background a bright sign. I don't know if anybody has used that type of technology. It's a display technology to do digital displays like this. One of its features is it can display HTML5 with JavaScript pages. So the easiest and quickest thing for me to do was to throw together, this was basically the first one, throw together a quick web page and have it display. And that's what we do now, is throughout all of our different types of digital displays, is to pull the information live from the system, bring in the information that maybe somebody has edited or changed, and then display it for our customer. Every day it changes. The back end is a simple CRUD app, so a simple, data entry in order to make modifications if necessary. That was boring, so I decided not to show it. This is our Be a Star a donation. It's a video you're going to be watching right now. But what that is it allows people to donate to us, because donations are super important to a nonprofit. But it interacts with a thing called worldwide telescopes. And worldwide telescopes provides us all the star data information. So where in the sky at any given time is a star located. It also puts the zodiacs, obviously, images on as well. And I'm just going to go back and then forward again so you can see it again. It also allows people, depending on their donation, to be able to enter their information and then have a dedication. What we find is a lot of people will dedicate a star, which, it's only within our science center, because you can't really dedicate a star legally everywhere, but dedicated to somebody who's passed. Often happens. It's really important to us. We'll often have families come in when a child has passed or a grandma or grandfather has passed, and they will look at this and do this. What I'm doing right now over and over again is put their information in and then be able to see the dedication of the star. So it's a way we can honor the people who donate to us, but allows them to also interact with our science center and honor those that they feel are important in their lives or have been in their lives. But it's all web-based. Again, interesting enough, this is all web-based, and it's all animated, pulling, like I said, information from a site called Worldwide Telescope that is run by NASA and Microsoft, actually. Another thing, it's really hard to see, and probably the first one I built, now I think about it, within the Science Center is school programming. We had an HR system, we didn't like it, tossed it, got a new HR system. Problem is it does scheduling on a you need to come to work today, not a you need to do this while you're at work today. It's not quite at that level. So they wanted to be able to have that feature. So this schedules the classes and teachers and instructors within our Science Center. So we'll have a number of different locations, number of learning centers, 1, 2, and 3, a science lab, for example, a science garage, which is a makerspace type thing where we will teach children about, formally teach children about different science topics for an hour, 45 minutes, 90 minutes, depending on the course. And this allows the head of that department to be able to assign and rearrange things. So for example, in the Learning Center, if a particular class doesn't have the supplies there for that, they're able to move that to somewhere else. It's, again, another web-based product. We do a fair amount of web, I do a fair amount of web stuff. But you'll notice, and there was a talk earlier about doing templating, we use the same template across the top for all of our stuff, so there's some familiarity for our users, our business users. But this was extremely helpful. We use Graffiti Suite. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. We use Graffiti Suite for date pickers and stuff like that within this. And again, it integrates with some of our existing systems to pull data from it in order to populate the information. And then each of the staff members are able to pick a color, and that it allows them to easily look at this and say, okay, this is where I am scheduled and when I am scheduled. Hearing test. So the hearing test is not all of this, and I'll get to this in a second, but the hearing test is just this. What this is some a exhibit out on the floor in our area called the Body Fantastic. Now, I'm pretty sure none of you have this, but when life gets really rough for me, we actually have a fart machine in our Body Fantastic gallery. So when life gets rough, I can go play Mary Has a Little Lamb or something on the fart machine. So in the end, life isn't that rough. This hearing test, what this does is it plays a sound file that are different hertz and allows people to be able to say, okay, I can hear this, some small child, but grandma can't, potentially. So they're able to adjust the sound. It was originally, it's an old exhibit, this one, it was originally a shockwave app. That got corrupted, and nobody knows who the developers were, nobody has the source code for it, nobody has nothing. So that needed to be recreated. when I took a look at that, Xojo had just, like literally as I was coding it really quickly, had released the Raspberry Pi. And I figured, why would I put an entire Windows machine out there and have to maintain it and all the crap that goes with it and the cost? Why don't I try Raspberry Pi? So this actually runs on a Raspberry Pi. It was really cheap to put in there. It was an experiment. And I was actually talking to, I believe it was William this week. And I said, yeah, it does this, it plays a sound file. And he goes, it does what? I said, yeah, it plays the sound. He goes, we didn't know when we released it that it would play anything. So I was quite happy that I didn't realize the limitations and just charged ahead anyways. Very little code changes from the Windows version, which is what I thought I was going to originally do, to the Raspberry Pi. So this thing runs on a Raspberry Pi. The kids are able, there's a little mouse ball down here that allows you to choose things and push buttons, and it's extremely robust. It does not break. It's very good. And then they can stick their head in between these two great big speakers for all intents and purposes to hear the different sound. The thing about the other thing is we have up here what we call Grandpa's ear, generally because if you look, there's a whole lot of hair in it, and a lot of little kids will go, hey, that's just like Grandpa's ear. So we, in fact, call it Grandpa's ear as well. So the electronic purchase order. So our finance department said, look, at our existing finance system has a purchase order process. We don't use it because I was filling out a piece of paper every time in triplicate in order to purchase things and get approval for that kind of stuff. They asked for something to be created. It was the first time where I integrated Active Directory into this because I did not want to have another authentication system. I just wanted Active Directory so that when we removed a user from Active Directory, they would basically be removed from this as well. Being the IT guy, I didn't want to have duplicates. So this is integrated with Active Directory. It runs on a Windows server in order to make that Active Directory connection really simple. And again, uses some Graffiti suite items as well to create PDFs so we can print them out, send a copy of the PO to our suppliers. Again, it's a standalone. It actually runs on SQLite. It's a multi-user system. It's a web app, so there's really only one user from the database perspective. And we have no issue. The backups are so simple because we keep all our code in the cloud for storage and versioning purposes. The only thing we back up on that server basically is the SQLite database. And it's super simple to do, very light. So for us, for a system that our auditors are really happy with, our finance team is really happy with, it's pretty lightweight from a management and maintenance perspective. Yeah?
So you're running it on Windows?
Yeah, it's a standalone web app that we run on Windows. And most of our web apps are all run on Windows and standalone apps. The reason I say that is it's so easy to do. Quite literally, I have 2 web application servers. I run about 4 apps on each one of them. They're VMs, minimal resources, and it's quickly create something, open a port, I'm done. Pardon? It ignores IIS.
Oh.
Standalone does not need IIS at all. Yeah. Yeah. No, I have an IIS server that allows me to work and so I can just type EPO in the system and it will just automatically go to that application. So I have IIS that does that, but we don't use the web portion of it. We use the DNS basically portion of it. So yeah, it's a standalone app. I was very worried that Xojo was going to move towards the CGI side of things. I do not like the CGI. It's difficult to use. It's just not what I'm comfortable doing. We mostly have Windows servers around us at the office in our VMs, and the standalone was great and is super simple for us to roll things out. The whole point of all of this is super simple. I cannot spend my time maintaining them. I cannot spend more than that. This is what it requires to develop in order to get them out there. This is not my job. This is just something to help reduce redundancy, improve processes, that type of stuff. Get people to stop being data entry or take a piece of paper and enter it into something. Start to remove that and have them and their value added somewhere else within the organization. Again, as a nonprofit, it's important that we do that. Yes, please go ahead. I need to repeat the questions as well.
How did you say you turn that into a PDF again? You said you graffiti suite.
Yeah, so graffiti suite. So the question was, how did I turn this into a PDF? We have this PDF export here. So what I do is Graffiti Suite has a PDF creation module basically, and that comes with their web suite. So we just use that, and it creates a PDF. Interesting enough, we found that Internet Explorer, which was kind of the default, does not work well with that at all. It doesn't allow the print function. However, Chrome immediately allows the print function. So we switched our standards to Chrome all over the office. And that's it. But yeah, the Graffiti Suite has that built into they have a desktop and a web version of it. They're not a sponsor, but I'm happy to talk about them. They've saved me a ton of time. Go ahead. So the question was, does the PDF work in IE and Edge? So it does. It's not a matter of it working in those. The issue was how it displays it. So Internet Explorer will display and I could probably log on to our VPN, but it will display the PDF with no problem, but it doesn't have any of the functionality or the easy to use features, a button to easily print. And we often need printing. So that's the only reason why. It absolutely displays within Internet Explorer. And that's not the issue at all, and I would assume Edge as well. But it's that little extra feature that Chrome naturally comes with. That's the only reason, but it absolutely works with Internet Explorer. It's just we needed the print capability. Yeah, and what I do is I pop open a small window, like a modal type window, and that's what we keep the PDF in, and that, like I said, has the print just right in it from Chrome. Oh, absolutely, sir. Sorry.
You mentioned it runs as a standalone application. Does it run as a Windows service or typical standalone application?
So the question, is it a standalone or can it be run as a Windows service? We run them all as Windows service. So if the application dies, or the server dies, or needs to be rebooted, gets patched, whatever the case is, it brings them all up. And the way I do it actually is I have a batch file, because each of my servers will have 4 systems on it, and it runs that batch that then loads all the apps. It's really slick and easy to do. Especially with the standalone, I couldn't answer necessarily for a CGI whether you can do it that way, but the standalone, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, I don't want to manage these things. I just need them to get used. So everything I can do to make it simpler is what we've done. So the next couple of slides, I'm getting near the end. As I said, we'll probably get out of here quicker. Is around the process. So what and how we build for our customer is super important. Like I said, I've got 20 years in the business, or 20 plus years in the business, and have had to deal with users of all types and kinds, from CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies to those that are not that. One of the things that we need to make sure we do is to deliver for our customer. I'm going to just talk about this briefly, but I I think it's important to cover. So one of the things we do is we use the 5 R's. It's something I came up with about 10 years ago. It is clearly a ripoff from the reuse, recycle system. I am happy to say that they were the inspiration. But the idea is I joined a company and as their director or VP, I can't remember at that company, anyways, director I think it was, of application development. And they just had no focus on the business. Their idea was, if they ask us something, we're going to assume, that's not what they said, but that's what was occurring. We're going to assume we understood what they wanted. We're going to build it. And if they complain, it's because they don't know anything in the first place. And it was just a very toxic relationship between the application team and the business team. So what I did was I built this thing to make it easy for them to kind of absorb. So respond really is talking about ensuring that we respond to the need, not what we think the need is. So it makes us stop and think. And there's 3 questions basically on each of them, or 3 points on each of them. But it's to make sure that we stop and think about what the business is needing, not what we think the business needs. And it's too easy for us to start answering their questions and designing while we're hearing them talk, rather than listening to their whole story, listening to their whole problem, and then actually designing it afterwards. The next step is rethink, which is to make sure that we're not doing the default of what we do now. Maybe it's better we go buy something rather than build something. Maybe the way we've always done something isn't necessarily the right way. Just because we have a hammer doesn't mean everything is a nail. And in IT, certainly the larger organizations we have a tendency to, well, I've got this tool suite, therefore it will apply to whatever the problem is. And we will adjust the problem to fit the tool, which we shouldn't do. We really need to pay more attention to our business. Reuse, so again, you know, I generally have in my team a lot of young developers, rather than seasoned developers like us, junior developers, and they all want to reinvent the wheel every single time because their idea, their way is better. They read something somewhere. They always want to reinvent the wheel, often want to reinvent the wheel. But we can't do that every time, and maybe we shouldn't do that. And that needs to be the balance to the rethink. They're really kind of a yin and yang kind of thing to ensure that we remain balanced. Reduce, if there's any chance that we can reduce the bureaucracy, we can reduce the handoffs, we can help the business focus more on what value they bring to the company, we need to do that as a part of our solutions. At the Science Center, for example, when I first got there, the Be a Star, so the star map that I showed you earlier, the original process for that when I came in, for a $50 donation, it cost about $30 worth of manual labor handoff in order to process that $50 donation. That was ridiculous. So as part of the idea of building that solution was to reduce and do more system connections and reduce the number of times things were being handed off, the data entry that somebody might do, the tax receipt that somebody might need to produce, is to automate as much of that as possible. So we need to think about our business, think about how our users are doing things, and see what we can do to reduce that. And finally, of course, is to reflect on it. Now, reflecting isn't just at the end of it all, it's in the middle of it, is just to reflect on how we're doing things. Are we, in fact, responding to our business, or are we creating something that's kind of cool and fun for us? It's something that we need to do. And I'm very passionate about this kind of stuff, and probably could talk about this forever. The other thing is, what is really important, is deliver regularly. And I don't have any of the Xojo people in the room right now, so while they'll listen to the recording, I'll probably be home by then. I truly wish, I'm desperately looking forward to the Web 2.0 stuff that they're building, their new framework. A lot of great work being done in there. But I would love that they deliver it a little, give me some of it. You know, they have some amazing ideas and they want to give it to us all at the same time, but some is better than none. Something that I say here is the business doesn't get any value out of all the hard work until we deliver. As much fun as it is for us to sit down and design, to code, to debug, maybe not, but to add new features and all that, as much fun as that is for us, it's adding zero value to the customer. It's only when they are able to use our tools does it actually add value to them. And it's a really important part of the Agile. There's an Agile manifesto. Truly read it for reference sake, but modify it for your business. The other thing I talk about here is constantly visit your backlog, because the business changes. And I'll get that into my next slide as well. Delivering something over a year, your business is not going to be the same as it was at the beginning of that year than it is at the end of the year. And if it takes a year for you to give them their first functionality that you've been working so hard on, likely it doesn't fit them as well. I've worked in multi-year development processes, and we've ended up at the end, for example, with a large SAP thing, and a lot of what we had done just didn't apply anymore. It was millions of dollars that was kind of wasted because we were just not fast enough to deliver for them. So Agile development. For some reason, this next slide takes forever to load. I have no idea why, because it's just an image and some text. There we go. The other thing is continuous communication. Constantly communicate with your business. One thing I say here at the top is give the business the power of priority most of the time. If we give them the power of priority, they feel like they're in control. However, at times, we need to override that, right? Where there's some things that we need to do some back-end work, or if we do this first, this other piece is just not going to work, so we need to kind of rearrange things. But giving them the power of priority. Because we are delivering in a continuous, like an agile methodology, we're delivering bits of functionality constantly to them. This allows us to do that. One thing I learned early in my career is communicate in the language of the business. They don't understand half of what we talk about, and they actually begin to trust us less and less the more we talk like that. That's what had happened with that toxic group, is they started to really distrust each other badly. Constant updates, including bad updates. Oh, sorry, this is going to take a little longer. I'm sorry about that. The last thing is the Kanban board. We use Kanban, which comes out of the Japan. Tokyo, as a matter, Toyota is the company that actually introduced it a long time ago as a part of its manufacturing. Its primary premise is to remove waste, not waste as in metal parts, but waste as in time, handoff, things that do not add value to the end result. Remove it. Meetings are often considered waste because it's a bunch of people sitting around where probably one person could have made that decision, or two people could have sat and had that conversation, but there's a whole group of people in it. We use the Kanban board because it really communicates, allows us to communicate well. I just want to make sure I get all of the points here. It allows us to communicate upcoming features. So what it is multiple rows. You probably do this whether you know it's called Kanban or not, but stories, things that are coming up, features in the future, things you're working, you're going to do next, things that are in progress, things that are being tested, and then when things are done. So the user or the business person is able to look very easily and see what is coming. They're able to look and say, okay, these are in the story mode, or the future features. It's going to be a while before we get there. There's no dates on these generally until they kind of hit this range. But these are features that are coming. To do means they know that it's about to happen. We're about to start working on those things, and they can see what's in progress, what's being tested, which is often the business is involved in that, and then what has been completed. We use this in combination with stand-up meetings as a part of the Agile, and there's nothing more rewarding than taking a down sticker and moving it to the next one. And considering it done. It's worse when you take the done or the testing and you put it back to here. That sucks. But the fun thing is everybody around the table sees that occurring and allows everybody to add a few cents worth, usually positive, to ensure that the progress still goes forward. Kanban boards, or the Kanban methodology, is amazing in the development. I've used it in multiple countries and multiple companies, and I'm a huge believer of it. I probably would have done a whole thing on this, and I could easily talk for an hour on this, but I won't. As I said, we're going to end probably quite a bit earlier than what I had the time for. I'm happy I'm the last one for that, but if you have questions, I'll happy. Yes, go ahead.
Back to Edge.
Yes.
How long ago did you last attend?
Oh, it's probably about a good year and a half, because I've been, that was, yeah, probably a good year and a half.
I was Googling a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought Edge was going away, and now you understand the question a little bit better now, that Microsoft has stopped development on their own Edge and have gone to a Chromium engine.
Right.
So I'm wondering now if it would work because of the latest release on it.
Yeah, so the question, or the point was Edge is moving to the Chrome engine, and that probably will give the features that we're missing, or I felt we're missing, that easy print button on the PDF. So yeah, I agree. I was shocked, but quite happy to hear when they were thinking of moving to the Chrome engine. Now I need to get more nervous about Google, that their engine is everywhere, and they're the new Microsoft, but nonetheless, I think that's a positive move overall. Yes, go ahead, sir.
You've spoken of all the successes.
Yes.
Which is great.
Thank you.
Have there been things that were incredible challenges?
The biggest challenge, there's been successes, have there been some incredible challenges? At the Science Center, because most of what you see is pretty straightforward, simplistic things, the biggest challenge is time, is an amazing idea or something that could save teams time. Takes my time to do it, and yeah, I need to, as the director of it all, I need to make sure everything is secure. I need to make sure the help desk is running properly. I need to blah blah blah, all that stuff. So time is the big issue. At other companies, our biggest failings were when we forgot to listen to the business. We would spend a lot of effort in the development team's effort and not listen to the business, where we get so lost in our own kind of echo chamber and bubble within the development team and the QA team that we'd forget why we were doing this. And that's why the last 3 slides are there, is because it's something so passionate to me, because I've seen it go off the rails so incredibly bad that we got to listen to the business. We also have to say no. No is a key word to the business. It's really, really hard, and when you're standing in front of a VP who says, look, I'm the VP, you're going to do this, no is still got to be an applicable word, even to our customers. Like I run my own SaaS for school boards. Has nothing to do with this, but it's built with Xojo though. I need to say no to sometimes to the schools, and they're kind of a side income and stuff. I don't want to. I'm just this little guy doing this little thing on the side. But yeah, no is super important, and it's key. And if they're recommending me to do something, and I say, well, we're going to move, well, maybe that's good for me because they might not be compatible with where the direction I want the software to go, or whatnot. But yeah, no is an important thing. That's why I say bad news is equally as important as the good news.
They might come back too. That was a bad decision. You were right.
Yeah, so interesting enough, so the point was that they might come back because they ultimately agreed. So I was hired by a company. They moved me across Canada, and they said, we want you to bring this Agile and Kanban and all this kind of stuff to our organization. We need to modernize. About a year into that, I sat down with the CIO and I said, look, I am banging my head against the wall. You're part of the problem, but it's a problem. I'm just getting nowhere. I'm getting very frustrated. He said, no, give us a little bit of time. A year goes by, I quit because I wasn't compatible with them. And it was nothing bad on them, and I don't think anything bad on me. It's just they did not want to go that direction because they clearly said to me, look, we're not interested in that. Someone I hired has just looked for a new job and asked me to be a reference, and he said, you know what, we're on the cusp at that company of doing this because it was the correct thing. And I actually got a call just before I came up here saying, hey, look, do you want to come in and help us do this again? And the answer will probably be no, but I've moved on since then. But yeah, they may come back, though it hurt. You know, you got to find a new job and all that kind of stuff. It sucked, but yeah, agreed. Any other questions?
Is Xojo the only tool you are using?
So the question was, is Xojo the only tool I'm using? So from building the applications, absolutely. They're not a sponsor. I want to be very clear about that. I am a customer just like all of you guys. But I really believe in the product that they have. I have my, honestly, how could they do it this way kind of moments as well. But because it's multi-platform, it allows me to quickly build things. And I don't know if the web has been my career for many, many years, starting with Gopher and Veronica clients and stuff like that, Archie clients. So I've been in the web my entire career, and looking out there right now with the stacks that are out there. So full stack is the new buzzwords out there. You know, it's all about, can we build everything with one language, or can we, you know, do these amazing React applications that require 300 npm libraries to actually make it work and do what I want, and then I can build it with Node in the background, which is, you know, JavaScript the whole way through. But then again, I need 12 more libraries. This, Xojo, is a full stack development environment on one language. It is the web server, like it is Node. It does that stuff. It can be the client. Like if you do not want to get too deep into the JavaScript and HTML, you can just do the drag and drop and build your interface. If you want more complex, that's why I'm desperately looking forward to the next version of their web. But you can use it. You can do that. It is, from a web perspective, I wish and you know, we're all VB programmers, so I'm certainly not insulting anybody. VB can kind of be a bad word. People still think that 10, 20 go to. Think about that kind of stuff when they hear basic. I'd be really happy if the TypeScript or something like that was another feature of this. But the reality of it is it's the full stack. All that stuff that React and all these things do in a single page application, it does right out of the box. It's got its issues, it's got its limitations, but it gets me a significant way down the road and quickly. And I don't need to worry about, you know, did this NPM package all of a sudden not support it anymore? Doesn't work? Somebody made some stupid change and it broke everything. I don't need to worry about all that. So yeah, no, it's all Xojo. And again, their web piece, I am a big fan of. I can't wait till they continue to improve it. I wish they'd do it quicker, but the reality is yes, of course, we all do, but I'm a big fan of Xojo. And like I said, it allows me to quickly throw together a Raspberry Pi application, because really that's all I need, a web application, and that's compatible with, you know, these bright side devices. Yeah, no, I'm quite pleased with it. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. And if there's any presenters, thank you for your time as well. And I've enjoyed this, and it's my first conference for Xojo, and meeting a lot of you guys have been, and hearing how your solutions and what you guys do in your companies has been extremely rewarding. So thank you very much.